I guess I got to be in here.
We're live.
What up? Yeah, we're live, everybody. I was trying to multitask and I failed all of them. It's week 18. Fantasy's mostly in the books. Hopefully, we got some titles in the chat, in the room. Get the comments live. But yeah, we're just going to be breaking down the season, talking a little week 18, maybe talking playoffs, talking what went right, what went wrong. I mean, there's really no wrong direction we could head in this thing. As we know, Jason will probably try to take us off the rails at some point. Brian's projection model is just up for week 18. That's going to help because it's chaos. We were just trying to figure out what's what for the week, and it's easy to go cross-eyed. All right, how's everyone doing?
Good. Happy New Year.
Good. According to Larry David, this is the last day you can say Happy New Year without being a dick. Brian, what's going on?
Yeah, it's all right. It was this week was definitely a pain to do the projections because there's like at least 10 backup quarterbacks in, so should be fun. I really hope you don't have a championship this week.
Yes, yeah. A couple guys messaged me on Discord. They're in it. How does that even work? Does anyone know?
I mean, you just hope for the best and.
No, like the league settings. Is it maybe a 2-week final?
No, you could start in week 16 too. Probably. I think Sleeper has that setting. I know my big money league is on Sleeper. Speaking of going off the rails and everything, there was some insane mayhem in that league this week.
Sure. All right. Talk to us.
So I know I had mentioned the story about the guy in our league who had traded away all his draft picks, his first 8 draft picks for 2025. And had lost in round 1 of the playoffs because of that last interception by the Falcons defense in week 15. He finally, said the quiet part out loud where he's quitting the league and kind of knowingly did, he kind of knowingly did that, knowing that he was going to bounce and whoever was going to take his place was just going to be, kind of like having to clean up the New York Jets, basically. Things went a little haywire this week there. So there's a lot of figuring out how to help replace that, and we're all working through that. But that was some absolute mayhem on Wednesday.
Okay, mayhem, sure. The Brett Stepien rule that they got the NBA, or the one owner traded too many first-round picks. Now you can't trade back-to-back first-round picks anymore.
Crazy.
Might be something else. So, Brian, we're trying to talk through all the scenarios, right? So what needs to happen? Who gets in the playoffs? Who cares? Who doesn't?
I mean, so NFC, it's pretty much set. It's just if Bucks lose, Falcons win, then the Falcons are in. But like the rest are set. A few are fighting for seeding. Obviously, the big game on Sunday night between the Vikings and the Lions. That's for 1st and 5th seed. AFC, I believe the divisions are set, except for AFC North. You have Steelers and Ravens. If Ravens lose, Steelers win. Steelers are the division winner. Then the last wild card is between Denver, Cincinnati, and Miami. Denver wins, they're in. Denver's playing Kansas City, who's benching everybody. If Miami wins and Denver loses, Miami's in. The Bengals are in if both Denver and Miami loses.
That's pretty unlikely, right? I think Tua is not going to play, but everyone would love to see Cincy in it. Oh my god!
Yeah, that'd be
good news for Miami is they're playing the Jets, and at this point, that's a very winnable game.
Yeah.
Are the Jets playing their guys? Is Rodgers playing?
Yeah, I mean, Rodgers going for 500, right? 500 tutties.
How do you not get it last week? Yeah. Okay, and then Jason, we're also talking incentives, right? This is really the only real reason to care week 18, kind of if you're betting or something, right? There's guys playing for money. Instead of injuries, let's talk incentives.
So the incentives, for those who don't really know, incentive week is like the last week for a lot of players to hit, certain goals that they have incentives in their contract for, to hit some big bonuses. So a couple prominent ones that are good to throw out there. Mike Evans, 85 receiving yards. He hits that. He gets a few extra bucks. It'll also be, I believe, his 9th consecutive 1,000-yard season.
I think it's like 2 million.
Yeah. Is it 2 million?
I heard in total it might be 2 million where it's like,
okay.
A
He's got to
few
score.
different things have to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 catches, 85 yards in the score, I think.
Yeah.
I think the whole world's going to be betting that prop. And then I saw Derrick Henry score to break the Ravens rushing record. Brian's guy, Barkley's being a coward, not playing.
He's being a winner.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, you can't really hate. I mean, it's kind of like the equivalent of a bye week for most of the starters now because the 17. That's the one thing the 17 playoff kind of ruins is that. Where the team, the Eagles got to play an extra game now as a 2 seed, and how do you find those guys some rest? And this is the week to do it.
Okay. What was there any? Oh, Geno Smith has one, right, for passing yards.
That is correct. He needs 185 plus passing yards to hit a $2 million bonus. For Mike Evans, he needs 5 catches and 85 yards to hit $3 million.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So the thing is, I see all over Twitter, the whole world's like, "Oh, bet Mike Evans, bet Mike Evans." And obviously, I'm going to bet Mike Evans. But is it like Brian? I feel like you love going the other way. Is there like maybe you bet Mike Evans under before the game because 2 million Joes are going to be just jacking up his yards?
I mean, it depends what he gets it to. I think they're going to get what he needs for the money, and then after that, probably that's it. That would be my assumption, but I don't like. Yeah, if everyone's on the over, then the under obviously looks better. But like, you also just players tend to root for other players to make money. Like, even if you're on the opposite team, it's like if I make money, you make like. I don't think people are really mad about him getting what he wants or like getting that number just for the money because they're all trying to make a living here. So it depends how high the number gets. I wouldn't go too much over what he needs to get, but if it's around there, if it's like exactly that number, I'm staying over.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Vegas is smart too. Man, yeah. First, go ahead.
I'm going to disagree with this one just because, again, the Bucs are still playing for something. The Bucs need to win to get the playoffs, so it's a little bit different than hey, we're just chasing a number here. Yeah, like I know they're playing the Saints. That game will probably get out of hand pretty early. But Evans could, they're gonna play until they can comfortably call off the dogs. So this one's a little bit different than some of the chase. If you have Tony Pollard, for instance, he needs 83 plus rushing yards for $250,000 bonus, 2 plus rushing touchdowns for another $200K. Like the Texans Titans game literally means nothing. A little bit different there than Mike Evans' situation or Courtland Sutton's situation.
Okay. Yeah. The Sutton one, but Sutton. Yeah, I want to talk about Sutton a bit later too. Guys who've kind of started hot, fell off. But I wish there was someone who tracked like how often do these guys hit the incentives? I remember they showed that Gronk video when he told Brady he needed a catch and Brady threw it to him. But it's just it'd just be good to know, right? Because usually if everyone thinks something's going to happen, it's probably not going to happen, right? Vegas.
There's other times though the team will still give the player the incentive and just not have the player like try to go get it just for the the sanctity of the team as well, or be like it's just better for the team if you don't do this right now, but we'll still pay you like the Niners did a few years ago.
Poor Niners. Man, the one game they show up, the game that Lions game, that game was great though, AJ. So we were watching it.
The game was, I think it was everything we would hoped it would be from the actual game standpoint. It just didn't have the the initial juice that we all thought it would have coming in.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if you guys are on Twitter, just fire off some questions. Jump over to YouTube where you can drop them. Hit our Discord too. We're on Blue Sky. We're gonna be running all the way through the playoffs. Right. Fantasy might not be live, but Brian wants to talk some DFS. We'll talk some props, playoffs. Football's nonstop, right? Dynasty leagues. We can do dynasty trades if you guys are propping those. But let's do a year in review. Let's do a quick. Let's look back, look forward. And anything jump out at anyone? I know Brian, you were talking about maybe your QB model is now switched, because if it's going to be Allen, Hurts, and Lamar every year, it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at kind of the top quarterbacks this year, and I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I had Lamar pretty easily as QB1 this year, and he was pretty easily QB1. So that's a win. But, I mean, Josh Allen right behind him. And then points per game, It then went Jaden or points per game, and then went Joe Burrow, which was kind of obvious just with Cincinnati going off, and then it was Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, and Baker Mayfield. Jalen Hurts, his numbers hurt a little if you count the injury game, but I mean four of those 6 QBs are just all rushing, and I think Jaden Daniels is going to be up there. I think like if I can get Lamar, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, or Hurts next year, I'm going to spend up for him. Other than that, I just think the rest are how many touchdowns are you scoring? How's the offense doing? Which isn't all the QB. Like Pat Mahomes, great, but like their team did not need to score 30 points a game, so he wasn't as good for fantasy.
And they didn't score 30. So, Jason, yeah, your boy Brock Purdy is he's usually pretty great. Where did he finish this year? Do you know? Was he in the top 10?
I don't think he was. He actually had a great. If you had him in the finals starting, you probably were pretty happy. Even despite the way he finished that game, overall he actually had 1, 2, 3. He had 4 top 5 QB finishes throughout the course of the week, or throughout the course of the week on the season. He also had 2 bottom 2 QB finishes. Overall, it looks like QB 17.
Okay, that's not great. Brian, the thing I'm always trying to figure out is like its value, right? So like Lamar, you would have to take him third round, late third, early fourth? What's better value, that or taking Baker in the 12th round and getting, QB4 versus QB1 at a higher draft capital?
I mean, sure, if you know Baker's going to be QB4. I can't find if there's somebody out there who said Baker's QB4 and they're not like a diehard, I have a Tampa Bay Bucks tat on my chest, then sure. But I just don't think that's it happens every year, but I don't good luck predicting it.
Well, he was Baker. He's QB10 last year. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. Fair enough. But I would like value. It's all about value, right? Like Jason, what's the best value, like fantasy wise? Best pick, or like last year was Puka, right? I think Puka was the best value. 15th round wide receiver, 3 or 4, right? This year, what? Brian Thomas Jr.?
He was definitely up there, but how can you argue with Saquon? Dude just went insane, and he wasn't even really going in the top 5. Like you probably got him in the back half of the first round.
Yeah. Okay. Saquon.
I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I was like, what do Puka and Brian Thomas Jr. have in common? They were rookie receivers. So that's kind of, I think last year with Neighbors and Harrison Jr., people are starting to kind of hop on the train a little bit more of rookie receivers can be valuable. We just didn't pick the right ones in Harrison. Neighbors was still pretty valuable, but
Neighbors was insane. I think he's a wide receiver 8 or something, right?
Yeah, I still think rookie receivers, not the top drafted ones, but ones that end up in a pretty good situation, it's still they're still solid flyers for later. But do I want to get a rookie receiver, or do I want a Zamir White? Rookie receivers tend to have the higher upside, and that's kind of the pick. But people me too. It's when you start your year, it's oh, this guy's a projected workhorse back for a team, and I need another running back.
Yeah,
so
dual threat back.
Yeah, those types of players get boosted up a lot more, and then your rookie receivers, where you have no clue when or where the production's coming from, but he has upside. Those guys, I feel get kind of forgotten about.
Okay, but then Ladd McConkey too, right? It's just we always try and learn from the past to move forward. It's one of my favorite things to do. Well, 3 lessons from this year going into next year. What would they be? Draft rookie receivers, right? It doesn't have to be galaxy brain thinking here, but.
No, I was saying don't draft rookie receivers in the first couple of rounds. This year they were Harrison Jr. and Neighbors were projected to go in the first rounds. I spent a second round pick on Harrison Jr. It didn't work out. Again, I could have waited a few rounds and gotten Ladd. Probably done just fine. So I don't you see rookie receivers going early. Let somebody else do it. If you miss out, you miss out.
Okay.
That'd be my first lesson.
Brian, I know one of your favorite backup running backs. I mean, I think last year they didn't really hit, but this year, oh my God, right? Bucky, Charles, Chase Brown, just off the top of my head. Tyrone Tracy, Jordan Mason.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely depends on like roster build. Because like I love backup running back. Like I love maybe overpaying for a backup running back if I'm super wide receiver heavy. But if I've already like if I don't need that many and I already have a lot of my running backs in play, it like if for me, I drafted CMC in a league and it's like I had him and James Conner. If they got hurt, I spent up on them pretty high. I'm probably not going to win the league. So like if I'm being honest, the way that I can win the league is they are healthy and I have pretty solid receivers to fill out the receivers and the flex position. But like if my running back gets hurt, I'm probably not going to win either way.
Okay.
So yeah, like just realistically, how can I increase my upside? And then okay, if you have a higher floor, great. You made the playoffs in the 6th seed and you lost first round. Like sure, making the playoffs, anything can happen, but realistically, I want to win a league and win money. I don't want to just barely get in and then lose. Like either way, that's $0 in my bank account. I want to win. So I want the highest upside. And then if players get hurt, they get hurt. It happens every year. You can't predict it.
Okay. And then third rule. What do we? Something maybe the onesie position is something you brought up this summer, Brian, that I hadn't really heard. That seems like also like never take a tight end and a QB early, right? Both.
Yeah, I think everyone loved it when we were stacking Gronk and Brady and Mahomes and Kelsey, but like we're no longer doing that. Mahomes isn't like Kelsey's getting older. Mahomes is just not as fantasy relevant. So yeah, I think spend up on one and punt the other and maybe shotgun approach the other later in the draft where I spend up on McBride later in the draft. Maybe I get like a rookie in Shador or Cam Ward to pair with whoever the next Baker Mayfield is. Like I'm sure Baker will get overdrafted, but maybe a Jordan Love is around QB 15, pair him with a rookie next year and see what happens.
Okay. Jason, what do you got?
I was going to say late tight end value made kind of comeback at the end of the year this year. I know we had talked, multiple episodes about how there's like no depth at tight end, no depth at tight end. All of a sudden, like towards like the middle to back half of the year, like guys who were just sitting there on the waiver wire became very fantasy relevant. Guys like John Smith, Ertz, Pat Freiermuth, Tucker Kraft. Like those guys were at the very most drafted very late. So that was a little resurgence there. So I think being able to feel comfortable with going late on a tight end again is something.
Okay. Hey guys, we got a lot of people watching, so we'll keep talking. Year in review. But if you guys want to talk week 18, top playoffs or something, just drop a question in and we'll hit it. But because one of the guys I love this summer, everyone hates Sam Laporta, right? And he was brutal, right? Look at Brian. You couldn't start him after week 1, 2. He was doing nothing, but he finished huge. So like he wouldn't be considered a bust, right? If you had Laporta, you probably won leagues this year, which is crazy as long as you made the playoffs, right? I want to talk like other guys like that or reverse guys like Cooper Kupp, the reverse, right? If you're starting Kupp, you're screwed. But you can't bench him.
Remember the way he started the year? He started the year with a 35-point week in full PPR formats.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, like, and then Debo, another guy. I know he played well in the final, but it's like you draft Debo, you can't bench him, and then he's giving you these kind of almost goose eggs every week.
Yeah, he was.
So I don't know where you're seeing that he like ended up great. You drafted him as tight end 1 in probably the 3rd round, maybe, and he ended up tight end 8.
Yeah, but now look at his game log, right? It's about how you finish, right? Week 17, tight end 7, tight end 6, tight end 3, tight end 10, tight end 8, then a tight end 4. I mean,
if I see, he kind of started going off. I see week 10, and then he had maybe a dud week or 2 starting there. But like, if you spent a 3rd rounder on, if you made the playoffs, I think you did great with Laporta. But it's harder to make the playoffs, in my opinion, when you spend that 3rd round pick that doesn't do much. And if your team's great around you, for sure, but Like, I don't ever want to spend a 3rd-round pick on someone who's tight end 8.
No, of course. But again, fantasy football is how you finish, not how you start,
Yeah.
right? But like George Kittle, obviously, probably was the man after like what seasons of being ineffective. Like Jason, you usually get Kittle because you're a Niners fan and then get disappointed.
I have actually never had George Kittle on one of my fantasy teams. Swear to God, never had him once. I have this weird. I usually don't draft Niners players. I usually don't. I had Brock last year, which was great. He was fantastic for me. But other than that, like barely ever. Every now and then I'll take the defense. They're doing well. I usually let them capitalize, or every now. I had Robbie Gold a couple of times. Great. But other than that, I never had like Frank Gore. I only had CMC in his Panthers days. Never had Debo. Had IU once, maybe twice. Not often. Never had Frank Gore. Never had Vernon Davis.
Okay, Jason, we get it. All of a sudden, never had Jerry Rice. Brian, so what if for next year? Like I always try. Did we learn anything? Is this year one off? I feel like every year is kind of a one off. Like let's say next year you're in a big money league. You can pick where you draft and snake. Where are you picking? Like, let's say 12-man team, 12-man, no 3rd-round reversal. Standard snake. Like Jason, what do you think, Jason? Are you going to one and just taking Jefferson and being like, ha?
No, I never want to have the number.
I would go one.
I have a rule for that too that I've kind of used and kind of live on now whenever I get stuck with it. I actually kind of like 5th. You're guaranteed one of the top 5 players. You're still in the middle of the draft. So you're not waiting too long to pick, and you're probably not going to like miss out on a run of any position either way. So I kind of like that 5th, 6th spot. So I'll go 5.
Okay. And then just somebody to great follows to you. All right, Brian, what do you got?
Maybe around 3. I think 3 kind of either guarantees you top receiver or a top 2 running back. And then on the turn, the next round, if I'm going to spend up on a QB, that's a good place to do it, is like 3rd round, beginning of the 3rd round. So then if I can start with the top running back, a top 10 running back and a top receiver, or a top running back and a top 10 receiver with the QB, then I feel pretty safe. And then I just need a shotgun approach to tight end in like rounds, probably get one around round 9 and then get one or two in the later rounds, and then just hammer the flex positions.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I think I was looking at a presumptive thing. It was like Chase, Jefferson, Bijan, Barkley, and then maybe probably 5. It's kind of.
I mean, Barkley scares me next year just because of how much wears on his. Like, this happens a lot, and he's not built like a Derrick Henry. He's been hurt in the past. He has a bunch of wear on the tires. Yeah, this is obviously a better O-line, but Barkley does scare me next year.
Okay. I've kind of fallen in love with the story of your buddy who just gets the Bills players. Because one of my big money leagues, this guy always just gets bucks. So we got Baker, Mike Evans, right? And it's just like, he's just getting 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and whatever Mike Evans says every week, right? What would you do? Like if you got Barkley, say you take Barkley at 5, would you take Hurts? Would you look for Hurts on the comeback so you're getting every touchdown? Same if you go Derrick Henry and go for Lamar.
I loved having that in the one league I had, and I think if Hurts didn't get hurt, I would have potentially won the championship in that league.
Oh, we can't play that game. How many titles will I have?
If Hurts had 16 points, I would have been in the finals. So if he didn't get hurt, realistically, he probably would have had 16 points in that game. I would have been in the finals, and then who knows? So I did like that a lot, especially because you're in Jackson and Henry, like you're kind of guaranteed almost every rushing touchdown on that team. And with the Eagles and Hurts, you're guaranteed every rushing touchdown, and then you still get passing, obviously, with the QB. So it is a great way. But like the team who won in my big money league, Burrow, Higgins, like
okay,
they had Bengals stack. They also had Chase Brown, like who went off. And Chase Brown's probably one of the better league winners this year. But
except he didn't score, and that's kneel down. Yeah. Jason, what do you got for me?
So the one that I I've kind of adopted, if I ever end up with the number one pick, is don't take the number one overall player.
I know you're right. Yeah, you're cursed. Yeah.
Well, no, it's because it's real now. We got a 5-year sample size on it, and I've done it before. And I was like, the year that I kind of read about it, I committed to it. I had number one pick in one league. Jonathan Taylor sitting there one. I zagged and took Derrick Henry. Everybody thought I was an idiot. And, week one, it looked that way. But over the course of the season, Taylor got hurt not too long after that. Henry started balling. Who ended up in the championship? Me.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. I like that too. CMC was scary this year. I mean, yeah, he burned me, burned Brian.
It's hard because it's hard to repeat, that prior success from the year before. And it's like Brian said, Saquon will likely be the number one fantasy player coming in next year. And he's got so much wear and tear on those tires now with the injuries that have piled up over the years. And despite how good Philly is, it's just really hard to repeat that success.
Okay. What about the Lions, right? Like I won the title I won. I had Goff, St. Brown, Laporta, right? I went Lions stack, and they're just scoring touchdowns, right? Well, you could take Gibbs. I thought Gibbs is early. You could take Gibbs 6. You could take St. Brown on the comeback. Take Goff late. I mean, and then you're probably just sitting pretty.
I mean, Gibbs definitely paid off, but I think a big part of that is Montgomery got hurt.
Sure.
So Gibbs is going off in the playoffs.
Gibbs was going off. I think he had 1 week of single-digit points. He was incredible this year. He was like the under the radar fantasy MVP in my opinion. Saquon got all the attention, but Gibbs was just a model of consistency.
He scored. My buddy had an 8-9 leg touchdown parlay. Gibbs was the last one. He gets hurt with that cut. He comes out. There's 3 minutes left. He's not going to score. Breaks to the outside. It was $1,000. So I was half rooting for him. What other fantasy MVPs? What do we got? Who else? Like Chase Burrow, right? That's probably the highest percentage of league winning stacks, right?
Yeah. I mean, Bucky Irving, Chase Brown, a bunch of those the younger running backs who kind of broke out at the end of the year. I think those guys are all pretty solid.
Baker.
Yeah. Baker Evans. I know Evans missed that time in the beginning, but okay. Well, we got one question here. So guys, we got a lot of people watching. If you got questions, hit us up. Otherwise we'll just keep talking. I mean, week 18 is just not that exciting. We can talk that Sunday nighter a bit, but yeah, Tristan NHL says, do I start JMO or Addison in full PPR? Also for kicker, Richard or Boswell. So we got Detroit, Minnesota head to head. I mean, both pass defenses aren't great. Both guys wide receiver 2s. I don't know. What do you do here?
I'm slightly Addison over JMO. I have them both as top 10 options this week. Just that game with a bunch of games this week are projecting teams with under 20 points. There's a way more over-unders in the 30s this week than there has been probably all season. So when you're projected 56.5 points, majority of your players are going to be top. So, I mean, I have Addison slightly over. I have JMO. I have Addison in PPR and JMO better in half PPR.
Okay. And then kicker, Boswell, Richard. I don't even know who Richard plays for.
He's Minnesota.
Minnesota. But it's Boswell's right. Boswell's been the best kicker and the second best kicker in football this year. Usually doesn't miss. You got to go with him.
Go with Boswell. Okay, great. So
I would go Minnesota, just the points.
What? Jason, how high would Justin Jefferson's yards be where you bet under? Because I'm going to be bet. I'm going to bet. I'm going to make the biggest Justin Jefferson bet the world's ever seen. 110 yards, 115. I mean,
I'm thinking 135, 140 more here. I mean, the Lions defense is just banged up, and I know they had a couple picks at the end of the game on Monday night, but the Niners offense, by and large, cooked them for most of the night, and Brock had his way. Their Niner pass catchers were eaten.
And they were wide open.
Yeah, I was saying. So if you think those guys are going to get wide open, let's talk about receivers who can get real separation.
But Brian, we're looking here. So you got 92 yards for Jefferson?
Yeah, 93.5. I had a 30% target share.
I don't
So
know. That's a problem.
And then it's just like, because both these, I mean, as the Vikings past season's been a little bit better, or maybe that's just the matchups, but Detroit can't stop anybody right now, right? And nobody can stop Detroit. So, like, this has got 38-35 written all over it. Like, what's the best way to bet this, Brian? Like, do a DFS and just stack that game?
I mean, in DFS, I like to be different, and I feel like everyone's doing that.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Like, whoever wins DFS next week is going to be like they pick the random QB that is the best. Like, they picked the Carson Wentz this year. Where
the other game I kind of like for DFS is Bengals Steelers. The Steelers defense has struggled the last few weeks against good offenses. Like the Chiefs just torched them on Thursday. They got torched by the Ravens not too long ago or the week before that. And now you got the Bengals offense who they put up 34, 35 points against them the first time. I actually really like that game too. And the Bengals defense is good. So the Steelers offense should kind of they should get the Steelers offense back to humming again too. So that could also be a really good DFS game.
Okay. Is Pickens is gonna play? I mean, geez. Huh? Bad vibes though, man. That pick, that KC, he didn't even run the route. Safety Reed's just like, okay, I just won't even cover you.
And nobody on the Steelers looked like they knew how to play football on a Wednesday either. So
that's fair.
I've had a good bunch of days off to get back and try to get right. And again, the Bengals defense has been by and large not very good all year. So I feel like this could be a good get right for at least a game for the Steelers offense to get back to doing what they're capable of.
Okay. Let's get back to just looking back at the year. So, like, did we learn anything definitively? Right? Like, we saw all the wide receivers go down, but I think we can call that kind of fluky. I mean, if you had to have a stack for next season, like low key stacks for next season, right? Like the sexy ones were like kind of the Stroud, Nico this year, right? But that's obviously Stroud was terrible.
Bro Chase was another one.
Yeah, Bro Chase is sexy stack. I'm talking unsexy stack. Like the Bo Nick Sutton, right? Like that was unsexy, and that was
Herbert Ladd. There we go.
Herbert Ladd. Okay, yeah, that's pretty great. But Brian, are you a big stack guy? I know Anthony on the Sunday Pod loves a good stack.
I mean, yeah, they definitely help. Something around Daniels, whether it's McLaurin Daniels.
Ooh, yeah.
If for some reason I could see them getting they need. Ertz is getting old. Ertz was great, but like
he's already old. Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting more old. But like Ertz was still pretty darn good this year. I think he was in the top 10 tight ends. But somebody with Daniels, I love. Maybe they add another weapon to that offense, either tight end or receiver in the draft. If they spend up and get a early or like a first or second round receiver, I would be get Daniels early and then just take a shot later on that rookie pass catcher. That's something I'd be very interested in.
I feel like maybe we can invent the new stack, the running QB, running back stack, right? I don't know. We got to call it something, but yeah, like, you go Jaden Daniels and get Brian Robinson, right? And it's just like, if you got a running team, Josh Allen, James Cook. I feel like all these stacks would have worked great.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about I was going to say the Redskins, but the Commanders, they share it. Like with Eckler and Robinson, they're sharing it. You're not guaranteed every rushing touchdown, but if I can get somebody where I'm kind of guaranteed every rushing and pass, but I mean not every, but if I can get 90% of the rushing and passing touchdowns between a quarterback and running back, I really like that, especially if they're on a good team.
Okay, yeah, okay. And then especially with dual threat too, right? If you get Allen throwing to Cook, it's crazy. Or Allen throws to himself, like we saw in the Niner game.
You really had to bring that one up. Huh? The other one I was gonna say is one of the teams in my big money league that played for the championship had Burrow and Brown, and that one worked. Most of the season. So
I mean, if you want a high upside, low floor, you go Richardson Taylor.
Richardson Taylor. That one's I like that. Yeah, that's not bad too.
That one really got going. I mean, JT's last couple. If you had him in the playoffs, man, you may have won.
Yeah.
I think the awards are all set, right? Allen's going to win MVP. Offensive Rookie of the Year is going Daniels.
Yeah,
I would
JD
assume
probably
so.
locked up on our live. I don't know. MVP is a fair debate, though. I mean, if you really look at it, I mean, for me, it's Allen because he's done more with less, in my opinion. But Lamar's numbers are insanely good. You can't discount how good of a year. Like he's had a better year statistically than any of his prior two MVP years.
Yeah, but he also had Derrick Henry. It's tough to weigh. What do you
So,
balance?
Allen did more with less, in my opinion. And I hate that voter fatigue is a thing, but it is a thing.
And I think Burrow's done the most with less. I mean, he's got the worst defense, man, almost in the NFL. He's putting up
That
38
helped him.
points and losing.
If the
That
Bengals
helped
make the
him.
playoffs, he's actually going to have a late case for it. And I know I've said this many times, but if the Bengals were a playoff team right now, Burrow would be ideal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. A bunch of my buddies got Allen MVP. They also one of my favorite bets. They do preseason. They did Chiefs to get the 1 seed, Lions to win the 1 seed. So it's like a 4-figure payout. But now they got this Vikings Lions game Sunday nighter. Vikings win, they get the 1 seed. So it's just Do you guys like hedging?
When it's a big future, I don't mind it. Like as long as I know I'm still making money, I won't hedge a bunch, but whatever I can do to ensure I get my money back either way, then yeah.
Okay. What about if you guys had to bet Super Bowl futures now for this season? Anyone sneaky? Like the AFC, you'd have to take like the Chargers. So that doesn't seem great.
I mean, Green Bay is kind of the only one that sticks out that I think just hasn't played up to their ceiling, but I do think they're a good team. That's kind of the only value pick I see.
Okay, yeah.
I think the Rams can have some value too. I think everybody's sleeping on the fact their defense has played well over the last few weeks. They still have a very competent offense, especially when their main 3 guys are healthy, and now they have Tyler Higbee back, and they're very well.
Higbee, yeah. It's true. Like I was talking today, what's the difference really between the Rams and Lions? Right, the Lions can't stop anyone. Rams got a great running back, solid QB, two receiver options, right? And then you also got
they can actually stop
two.
Their pass rush is really coming around the last few weeks. Their pass rush, it's not this like thing you have to completely fear, but it's something you got to kind of appropriately respect. And if you don't, you're going to get burned, and that can really kill you in a one and done situation.
Yeah, who would have thought with that? Just quickly,
I might be.
Sorry, Brian. Just quickly, anybody, if you guys are on YouTube, if you're on Twitter, come over, watch on YouTube. Drop us a like. Drop us a question. We also got our Discord. We're on Blue Sky. We'll be answering Discord questions all season, all off season. Anything you got, dynasty, trades, props, DFS, we'll handle it all. So we got a lot of people watching. All right, Brian. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just trying to figure out what week it was, but like, I'm definitely biased. It was week 12, but like, the Eagles absolutely spanked the Rams, and like they couldn't really do anything. It was 37-20, and like they just easily handled them. So maybe that's why I'm a bit like I've seen them just not look good or not.
Big
but like
teardrop, right?
Yeah, after that week is when the Rams started to kind of put things together. So maybe they found something else in film, but like watching that, it didn't really seem like they were in that upper echelon of teams.
Yeah, sure. We're talking about dark horses here, and value teams. So this is where I'm saying the Rams, because last few weeks they've been playing some pretty damn good football. So
yeah, I like it. Well, I know they scored 44 versus Buffalo, and then I think they scored 44 combined in their next 3 games. But if you're going to win, that's how.
Not very many either. I mean, they only gave up 6 to the Niners.
It was raining, but yeah. I was just going to say, Cooper Cup. Oh, yeah. Brian, we can play that game forever, though, right? The Bills went into Baltimore, I think, week 3 and got blown out. But I think if Buffalo played, Baltimore on a neutral field, they'd be favored, right? So, it's.
I mean, the Eagles played at the Rams.
Okay. Well.
Yeah.
I've been telling you the Eagles are the best team in the NFL since like week 8.
We'll see. I mean, Commanders could be frisky.
If they get in, okay, sure.
Because like Jaden Daniels has just been like doing all of his random heroics, and they're at least like a tough matchup with Jaden Daniels. It's more that you have to game plan for, and it's more to think about from a defensive standpoint. But like they're young and not nearly as not nearly as good of a football team from a talent standpoint.
Yeah, their defense sucks. They can't stop the run. I mean, if they're playing Barkley, Gibbs, it seems like a lot of good running backs. Is the running back back? Is that right? All these teams. Who's the team with the worst running back in the playoffs? Going to be what, Chargers?
Let's see. So we got right now in the field. Let's see. Lions.
I mean, yeah, probably Chargers. At least NFC, they're all pretty solid. Worst on the NFC is probably the Commanders.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Kansas City. Pacheco hasn't done too much, but he's good.
And they also still have Kareem Hunt, though, who doesn't stink.
Yeah.
Cook's obviously really good.
Henry. Steelers running backs are kind of meh.
Yeah, I love you some Jalen Warren, but yeah.
They're not going to break a game for you. Yeah, Najee and Warren are not going to break a game at all at this point. I think they just are what they
are. Okay, and then so we're looking forward to next season again. Who's I mean, it's a little too early to do sleepers, but I don't know, who are some guys that blew up really late? Like young receivers. Like Atlanta's always fascinating, right? Because they had Kirk Cousins, they were crap for a couple seasons. Now they got Penix. Drake London, was he a top 20 pick next year? Second round, I think he was wide receiver 8, right? Darnell Mooney.
That's not too different from what he was this year.
That's true. Yeah. That's true.
He started bad. He came on late.
I think London's value is kind of it's mainly steady with maybe a little take a couple ticks down at the very most. Nothing too crazy, but definitely not higher. Maybe
not higher. Okay. And then what about? So we had all the injuries. What are is Diggs draftable? Right. What about Brandon Ayuk? Who else do we lose for the season? Chris Olave. Are we just doing stay away because it's kind of been proven? Don't draft injured guys.
I think with Ayuk, because he's been mostly durable. This injury was obviously sucked, and the holdout and everything was tough. I think he's very draftable because he'll probably be back for week 1. He didn't miss. He missed. I think he got hurt week 7, so he'll maybe miss a couple of weeks if anything. But you got to draft. I think the third round, where he was being valued this year, was already way too high to begin with. I would have never. When I saw him having third round value, for me it was a no, a hard no.
Well, I think he led the league in yards per reception, right, a season ago. If you didn't love Debo, and then I don't know. I took Ayuk in the league. I loved Ayuk, but
I don't love him in the third round. I would have taken him 6th, 7th round.
Okay, 6th, 7th round. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Brian, did any injured guys? Because you like doing that, right? Like I do too. Stash the injured guys because the value. Did any of them pay off?
If I have an IR slot,
obviously an IR slot.
Hawkinson kind of did. He's at least a comfortable person you could start at tight end given the tight end landscape. I had Hawkinson and Taysom Hill in a lot of leagues, and that worked out annoyingly well with when Taysom went down, and then I just could ride Hawkinson for the rest. Nick Chubb didn't work.
Nope.
Maybe I'm avoiding running backs probably with that. I think tight end is kind of the only, and I only really think that worked out for me because of the tight end situation. Not a lot of times you're going to just be guaranteed that workload. And I can't think of any stars that are in this situation for next year.
Okay. Superstars that are because we didn't really have the running back ACL injuries that we usually have, right?
Yeah.
CMC is going to be the only one, right? But he's where is he? Who's taking him? Second round? Is he top 25? He's still got the upside. He's got the wear and tear. Jesus.
That 49ers team, I think, is prime for a bounce back. They're not that bad.
No, they're great.
They're going to bounce back. Everybody forgets. No. You can laugh at me all you want, but they're also playing the last place schedule next year. They play the NFC South, AFC South, and then their common and the uncommon opponents from the division are the Bears, the Giants, and the Browns.
How do you already know all this?
Oh, because all that stuff. all that stuff is predetermined. Like, so your future opponents are like all but 3 of your future opponents are predetermined.
Yeah, no, I know, but it's just we're at week 18 and you already have the schedule for next season, so it's just funny,
Well, yeah, the Niners are locked into last place, so you understand those things.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I'm the idiot. Brian, my favorite strategy I've ever seen was your super flex strategy 2 years ago when you refused to draft a QB and then drafted just every backup, every bum in the world. And it kind of worked out. I remember I was in a Super League auction this year, and it just is my back of the head. It's just like pay $4 for Darnold, pay $5 for Baker, right, and like $2, for. And then you stack all these guys, and we've seen QBs go down, QBs get replaced. I think that's something we got to try to promote next year and like to be on the frontier of.
I think in general, it's just like you zig when everyone else zags. Like, where's the value? The value isn't paying up. I don't know if it's a 200 auction league. Like, the value isn't paying up 50 for a top QB, because then like, what's the rest of your team going to look like? And or in a snake draft, it's like I'm not spending my top 2 picks, because you see, all right, after like the top 3 go this year, it was Hurts, Jackson, Allen. Like after they go, it's like there's a clear tier break, but then someone sees,
Lamar, these top 4.
Oh yeah, and Lamar, sorry, but like after those go, then it's like, all right, like everyone sees, QBs are running off, so like I need to get one now, and it's like the difference between QB 6, which was like it's probably Stroud this year, and then QB 15, which was probably around your Darnolds or your Bakers. Like, I mean, yeah, those are picking obviously the good players, but like it's not that big of a difference normally each year to year. I remember my first year here, I did analysis. Like, there's really not that much difference between like 8 to 15. So if everyone else got their QBs and I just can shotgun approach a bunch of them at the end, that means I'm starting Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown with like a Saquon and another like probably A-Chain. And then I just shotgun approach the QBs, and it's matchup based, and you can win that way in a super flex, especially if everyone's gung-ho.
Yeah, I mean, right? Yeah, you get Bo Nix late. It's just like it just seemed crazy. All these guys late. And it's not a one-off. Last year, right? We had guys like Brock Purdy, right? Baker came out, like a lot of guys came out of nowhere and had really good seasons. I went Lamar and Hurts. It cost me like $100, and it was great. But the rest of my team was thin. I got injuries and I was screwed. But it's just I just love. And then if you want to trade, right? You just have like 6 QBs all for a few bucks. And then it's just like you get to dictate terms. I just think it's such a fun way to approach it, and nobody's doing that yet.
Yeah, and I also think like that kind of reminded me of like something else that has worked in the past. I don't know why it reminded me, but like CMC, he started going off when he was traded from he moved from a bad team. He's a veteran, moved from a bad team to a good team. Saquon, you saw it this year. Derrick Henry, you saw it this year. Like, that's something to keep an eye out. Previously, we're like, a running back hits 28, get rid of him, don't get him. Even Josh Jacobs moved to a different team and thrived. Like, I think that is something to look at. If you see like a top talent at running back move from a poor team to a good team, keep an eye on that, because a lot of it's offensive line and a lot of it's the offense when it comes to the running back production. You can have all the talent in the world, but like Miles Sanders would outperform people when he was on the Eagles behind that line compared to like a CMC when he was on the Panthers.
Yeah, everyone knew Miles. Yeah, I remember I looked at the stat. He was second in the league in yards before contact with Philly, and then I was going to Carolina, and I was like, no chance. So Jason, what were we just talking about? Super League. Do you do super flexes?
No, I've only done no, I've never done a super flex. Actually, I think about it. I've only done 2 QB, but that's not super flex. Just all
same thing. It's the same thing. 2 QB is essentially super flex.
Yeah, no, I've only done it once. I had a hard time with that one because I tried to deploy my normal strategy, which is draft a quarterback late, and like all quarterbacks were gone in the first like 2 rounds. I tried to load up on receivers. Still made the playoffs, made the semifinals, But the one change I would have made was I would have drafted a quarterback.
Yeah, so the guy who won my league, he took Baker and he took Deshaun Watson. He took Baker for 4, Deshaun Watson for $1, and then got Saquon and was stacked, and then just kind of mixed and matched his way and figured it out. I mean, it's just everyone just overvalues that super. Maybe it's the spot too. If it's snake, obviously you take Lamar, but if you're doing snake and you got 12th on 12th team and you got Jordan Love and Justin Herbert, it's like you got no shot. Or if you go Stroud and Love, it's like you think you're looking pretty. You got all these weapons, and then all of a sudden, what do we think about Stroud? Sophomore slump, overrated rookie year. He lost Diggs, he lost Dell, he lost Collins. I mean, bad play calling.
It's a little bit of both. I mean, yeah, he lost certain guys for a little bit of time. I mean, use Nico Collins for 4 weeks. That's gonna hamper the game. Yeah, Dell was banged up for a lot of the year, and then Diggs got hurt too. So, and there was probably some adjustments that were made that he just wasn't able to adjust to quite yet. But I think he rebounds year 3.
Okay. What are some other good indicators for fantasy, right? You were talking about running backs moving to O-lines. Like, that's a great one. I don't usually like running backs switching late. Like, I was down on Jacobs, Mixon, obviously, but not Barkley. So I guess it was 1 out of 3. But like, what about O-line? Like, what if Houston got they fired D'Amico Ryans?
Yeah.
And they brought in Detroit's OC. Like, would that rejuvenate Houston for you?
Yeah, I mean, one thing with offensive coordinators, and Ben Johnson fits this, but like, I want an offensive coordinator who came from a team with like not a superstar QB. Goff has proven he can be competent, but he was poor on the Rams for a little bit and was great. Like, Goff has kind of proven he's a top 15 quarterback, not a top 5, or like could be a top 10 quarterback, not a top 5.
Yeah.
So if I see an offensive, like whoever made Baker look good this year, like that's the guy that I want. O'Connell for the Vikings, like you brought the most out of Darnold. Those are the offensive coordinators I'm going to probably try to chase after, because could you imagine like a Jaden Daniels, like a top talent, even a Caleb Williams, who everyone agrees is still super talented. Like, what if he got one of those offensive coordinators? I'm going to be pumped. Like, Caleb's definitely a guy I'm looking at going into next year to see what is the coaching. If he gets Ben Johnson, I'm going to be pretty darn high on that. Like, it's just
and an O-line, right? Yeah, if they draft 2 O-lines in the first 3 picks, yeah, get a good OC. So
I do think a lot of O-line is also coaching. Like, the Pats with Callahan, obviously Callahan didn't do too well with the Titans, but like the Patriots always had a serviceable offensive line when they had Belichick, Callahan, and Brady. Eagles, they lose Jason Kelce, his replacement goes to the Pro Bowl right away. Like, a lot of it, I think the Ravens always have a very competent O-line. A lot of it is coaching and game planning versus, I just have 8 first rounders on my O-line. Like, that is something that I'd like to look into and notice.
Okay. I mean, yeah, Jason, your Niners always have a solid O-line. Like, the running game without Trent Williams.
That depends on Trent Williams' availability. The last 3 years, if he's there, it's great. If he's not, it's bad, and the right tackle cannot pass block.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think they do next year? CMC's under contract, right? Because
they have to go back, and they should. They'll get healthy. The Niners will have obviously a very long offseason this year, which will be nice to get guys right and get guys healthy. Obviously, no playoff run coming. They do need a draft. I was sending this to my dad, actually. I sent him a laundry list of positions the Niners need to draft. They need to make between 8 and 12 selections in this year's draft. They need they need every part of the O-line. They need to draft a center. They need to draft tackle. They need to draft a guard. I would say another corner. I would take another receiver late. There's some good value wide receiver late in this draft. I would also take another running back. This is a good running back draft. I would definitely take another running back.
Well, what do you think this year showed, right? So CMC was hurt, but Mason filled in, was really solid, and Garendo was really solid, but they didn't have the same kind of offensive explosiveness. Did it prove that CMC is that Sorry, wait, let me finish. Did it prove that CMC was that valuable, or that it's a position that can kind of be filled in fairly easily?
It's a little bit of both because what the Niners showed is they can get yards and they can get to the red zone, but without CMC, they were deficient in the red zone, so they need CMC there to finish drives.
Okay.
That's the biggest thing, and that's why they need to bring him back. I mean, the Niners' red zone efficiency was one of the worst in the league this year without CMC there. So last when they had him, it was one of the best in the league. And I think everyone's like, "Oh my God, $19 million for running back." I don't care; he's that good. Like you pay him. He's just that valuable.
I think to piggyback off that, I'm in a similar situation with the Eagles. A lot of what you see, in my opinion, with like going from your average running back or replacement level running back is, like the O-line's going to get them what they will get. And behind when Trent Williams is there behind a good O-line, you didn't see that much of a difference other than explosive plays. Like CMC had his explosive plays. Barkley had his explosive plays. Like, I think that's where a stud running back kind of makes such a difference is, Garendo and Mason, they're going to get their, if 5 yards are blocked for them, they're going to get 7. Like, they're still going to do that, but CMC has way higher of a chance, in my opinion, to break it for a touchdown. So
Derrick Henry too, right? So
yeah.
Exactly. There's some guys in this year's draft that can end up being like top tier fantasy running backs, in my opinion, going forward.
Okay, and this is in the college that are going to get drafted now.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, drop some names.
Ashton Jetty.
Okay, yeah. He had a bad bowl game though.
Yeah, he had a bad bowl game, but I mean, it is what it is. The guy was very dominant all season.
Yeah, I mean, you have 2- and 3-star recruits going up against 5-star defensive linemen. It's just at some point, it's like Jimmy's and Joe's versus just a stud line. There's not too much he can do there, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's extremely talented. The running back from North Carolina, forget his name, but he is very good as well. And this other name, this is going to be a late round draft pick, but I think could really be a steal for somebody, is Jaden Ott out of Cal. He's going to be a day 3 pick for sure. But to me, I've watched him over the last couple of years. He's got a lot of NFL caliber back in him. I see a lot of like James Conner in him. The way he moves, the way he can power over guys. He can catch the ball. He's good in the pass game. He's not going to be like the CMC Barkley type, but more that Conner solid RB2 type that could really be a steal for not only a team, but a fantasy down the road.
Okay. So did we learn anything about rookie running backs this year? Like who are the breakout ones, right? Bucky was a rookie.
Yeah. Situation is always helpful. I mean, that's not really something we've learned, but it's definitely something,
Tyrone Tracy was pretty good.
Yeah, Tyrone Tracy. Who am I forgetting here? My brain's not working.
Who was the top guy?
Chase Brown and Charbonnet weren't rookie. Chase Brown wasn't a rookie, he was second year.
Yeah, and then
Charbonnet
Brooks didn't really play all season.
Yeah, he got re-injured, so he's done. So that sucks.
I mean, there's really not that much. I mean, if you really want a deep play this week, rookie running back, I think the Eagles are going to just give Will Shipley the ball a good amount just because.
Okay.
But, like, there really weren't that. This wasn't a good running back class.
No, yeah. It was.
I think kind of coming in, we knew that. Blake Corum was the other guy.
Blake Corum. Okay.
Todd Haskins started getting a little love late, too, for the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
He started getting a little because Gus went down, so I know he got a little bit of burn last week too, and even though J.K. seemed to get a full workload on his return.
Yeah, Ray Davis, another rookie. A lot of the rookies were more like just complimentary backs, in my opinion, this year. Yeah, Brooks was a guy who was supposed to be great. He didn't do much. Marshawn Lloyd, I think he was the Packers guy.
Yeah. I like Lloyd.
A lot of people liked him as like a sleeper, especially in best ball, I know, but Jacobs obviously just overtook that and didn't let go. It really wasn't that good of a class. I think the wide receivers carried it from the offensive standpoint. And then
QBs.
Yeah, I think next year it might be the opposite. Like the wide receivers, I think there's is it the guy from Arizona?
The receivers? Oh, yeah, Tedero, McMillan, and Travis Hunter. Yeah, they're studs.
If Hunter plays wide receiver, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like Hunter's going to play more corner, but you got to think wherever he ends up, they're going to find some room. They're going to find some offense for him as well.
Yeah, make him like Otani.
I don't see him being a fantasy asset, though, unfortunately.
If McMillan ends up with the Titans, that's going to be like a fantasy nightmare. I won't touch him. But that kid he's a special player. And this is coming from the guy who, is supposed to be the hater here. But no, that kid can play. He's so much Mike Evans in him. Is the size, the catch radius. He can go up and high point the ball. And I think he has more breakaway speed than Evans, too.
Hopefully not the drops. So, yeah, rookie quarterbacks. That's another thing, Brian, that you're always kind of against, right? Jaden Daniels, was he the exception? Is the rule where if they're running? Because,
I'm not against rookie quarterbacks in general. I'm not against running rookie quarterbacks. I'm against normally their receivers. I think Terry McLaurin was an exception, but he was also kind of the only option, him and Ertz. Like everyone loved the Bears receivers this year.
Yeah, three-headed monster. I wrote it like 800 times.
Yeah, and they didn't really do much. Like I think.
I mean, Keenan Allen seemed like he was going off every game at the end of the season.
They came on at the end, but I don't know if their value was there for the whole season. I don't know if you got what you paid for.
Okay.
I can kind of see overall rankings. I'll look up the overall rankings. DJ Moore was the highest at wide receiver 30.
30, okay.
That's pretty bad. I think he was a top 20 at least, top 15.
Yeah, but so what would you rather have, though? Would you rather have wide receiver 30 overall or maybe wide receiver 40 overall, but last 8 games, half the season was wide receiver 10, right?
I mean, it all depends because I think people also, like, this is kind of one thing I've been trying to figure out how to model correctly is like people always are like, oh, at the end of the year, Xavier Worthy went off at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So, like, versus somebody
wide receiver. We didn't mention him.
Yeah, versus like other people who like kind of start sucking at the end of the year. Jaden Reed.
Yeah.
Kind of the guy who fell off. Like,
perfect.
What am I valuing, and then how do I look at it moving forward? Like,
well, that's perfect. Like, Jason, who'd you rather have in fantasy? We had Jaden Reed or Xavier Worthy. Jaden Reed blew up week 1 against the Eagles. But
it's still Worthy for me at this point, especially too because look at who the Chiefs got back at the end of the year. Once I got Hollywood Brown back, like everything opened up more for Worthy too.
Yeah,
he was able to kind of slide back into where he was going to be slated initially with Hollywood, and that changed a lot for the Chiefs. And now, if you look at them going into the playoffs, that offense looks a whole lot more dangerous with Hollywood Brown around to play.
Well, so Brian, what's the extreme example where it's too far? Somebody like Jonathan Taylor versus, I guess Henry didn't. No, Henry finished strong. Like Taylor finished the season crazy strong. I know he didn't start it. I'm just trying to think of the comparison where the end of the season wasn't good enough or it was too little, too late, right? To really help because
like a Devontae Adams, he didn't do too much. Then he got hurt. And then he started going off at the end of the year when all Rodgers cared about was stats and just pumping stuff up. It's just difficult to a Jerry Jeudy type. Like, I mean, but even him, he was drafted late, so you kind of just took what you got. I'm trying to think of like somebody who just was terrible and then finally came on at the end of the year. But honestly, Laporta. Like going back to that, if you spend up so much on somebody, it means you're probably losing. And then by the time you feel comfortable starting Laporta again, it's probably 2 weeks into his hot play. So then you have 8 weeks of poor play, 2 weeks of I don't trust this, and then you finally start starting him again. Like, if we're being realistic about like how we think of the starts and sits, there is that emotion into it, and I don't like. You need to see how much you trusted him to start type thing versus, oh, he was on my team and he had 6 great weeks, but I only started him for 3 of it.
Okay. No, that's a good point. I mean, But what would you pay for if you're a tight end, you knew he was going to score maybe once in the first 10 weeks, but every week in the last 8? I mean, where do you take him? I'd take him pretty high.
Yeah, but like you take him in the 3rd round.
Well, probably, yeah. We're probably done with that.
It's just more of the cost that you spend up on him could kill you at the beginning of the year, and then you don't make the playoffs. Like, yeah, I've had teams in the past, I think 2 years ago, my team probably was like 160 a week in the playoffs, but I was the 7 seed, so I didn't get in. Because it's just like my team was great. Like, I was building up my team so much throughout the season that it was great for playoffs, but like I didn't make the playoffs, so it didn't matter.
True. Yeah. Okay.
You still have to make it in to do that.
Okay. So you're more make it in, figure it out, rather than and have a super team but still have to sweat it. Jason,
yeah,
where do you?
there is a balance.
Yeah, of course
But
there's a balance, but you're someone who doesn't care about fantasy playoff schedule. Jason wrote like 6 articles about fantasy playoff schedule this summer.
Hey, some of them ended up actually really paying off. The warnings about Joe Mixon ended up actually kind of rearing its ugly head.
Yeah, we got to wrap up soon. But yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go just feel.
Yeah, Mixon. Mixon just like went. Yeah, I mean, he just ran into a really tough 3 opponents the last few weeks, and plus with the Texans missing so many of their weapons, like that just didn't help matters either. And yeah, it went from basically what RB top 3 running back to probably bottom middle of the pack.
For sure. Anything else jumped out at you from doing those? I know it's even from you're doing a lot with defenses, fantasy playoffs. Like, did the defenses that you thought would be bad, good, vice versa?
I'm trying to think. I mean, Steelers definitely struggled. That was one that I noticed. I think I had mentioned in one of those articles that they would struggle down the stretch, and they did. I think they gave up 24 to the Ravens. And they obviously got walloped by Kansas City. They had no answer for the Chiefs, which was the first time all year, and nobody's had an answer for the Chiefs outside of the final 2 minutes of the game. But yeah,
I know Brian doesn't really care about the playoff schedule, but you were you were right in the weeds. Did it, from writing that and then seeing what happened, did that make you more in tune with like paying attention to it going forward, or it's too hard to predict because it's so far away?
It's still too hard to predict, and it's still so far away. But it's never a bad thing to like keep an eye on, because everything changes from year to year. You look at teams who go out of nowhere. I think the one thing that I need to pay more attention to next season is the teams who have the easier schedule, or what the perceived easier schedule are. Like a team who had a down year, they get an easy schedule next year and probably due for a bounce back. Like the Saints, if they get a quarterback and Olave gets healthy and Kamara's healthy, they're going to be playing a last place schedule too. Those guys could probably be in for big years.
Yeah, we saw that with Atlanta, right? Bijan kind of struggled. They got the great schedule. He was 100 yards every game because he's playing these terrible defenses.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think another, maybe. Let's see, the Raiders. I mean, maybe even Denver next year, who is likely going to finish in 3rd place. They're playing a 3rd place schedule, which isn't going to be terrible. Like, that means I don't know if they play the AFC South or that they play what other division they play.
But that's a good thing. Yeah, the schedule, strength of schedule, Brad. Does that factor? That can't really factor into your model. But I mean, like we're talking the Niners. Like, I think I'm going to get every Niner in the league next year. They're playing the NFC South. They got a last place schedule. It's like, give it to me.
I mean, I'm a big proponent of, like, a lot of my leagues I'm in, you can trade a good amount. So it's the psychology of everyone. If you see somebody going off at the beginning of the year, you trust it. You're like, oh, okay, maybe I want that guy. And then like middle of the season, that's when I maybe look more in. Like, I don't look into playoff schedule when I'm drafting. I do it more middle of the season to say,
yeah, that makes sense.
Hey, I knew Joe Mixon would go. I didn't, but like, say I knew, or I had a good feeling about Joe Mixon, or I just had him on my team and wow, he's really outperforming what I think, and I see his playoff schedule sucks. Then it's like, okay, maybe I trade him. I give someone what they think is like. I can't think of the right name, but like in reality, what happened? Like, what if I traded him for Jonathan Taylor type thing? Like, you make some trade like that where it's maybe I try to upgrade my receiver and take a downgrade at running back for someone who I think has a good schedule. Do stuff like that where it's like, hey, I mean, it's just more the buy low, sell high, where if you can, I mean, I hear it in fantasy basketball all the time where it's like, if I can take a top 70 guy and then just like take somebody who's super hot and then just keep trading him, get 5 slots, like at some point you could get way higher than what you currently have. And similar for football, it's just obviously on a weekly basis, not daily.
Yeah, so it's nice to get a little closer to maybe week 6, 7 to look at the schedule rather than in the summer too, right? Like the Niners, I think we're probably projected to have a great defense. All right, if you look at the beginning of the season, that Niners-Lions game, the total probably would have been like 43.5. And then by the time now all the defenses are broken, and if you look at what each series was, it was like touchdown, field goal, touchdown. It was crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say though, it's probably more of like, not in terms of drafting, but being more aggressive trading wise, I think would be the thing that I've learned from strength of schedule. Like Brian kind of said, yeah, hey, if I have Joe Mixon on my team and I know he's got, tough schedules coming up and I could, put that past somebody, like I wouldn't hesitate. I can, get another, maybe a decent player with a weaker schedule, maybe cop another draft pick, at least in the leagues that do those sort of things, or, leagues that don't, cop another couple good players. So my roster a little bit.
Yeah, and also, it also helps you to where you are, right? If you're in first, you're more likely you'll trade Joe Mixon for Bucky Irving because you see the schedule, right? And, that trade almost might get vetoed in week 9 because, Sean Tucker's getting snaps, right? And Mixon's getting 2 touchdowns a game. But then by the end of the season, Bucky's, top 3 running back in the league. But yeah, we gotta wrap up though. Anyway, last thoughts? Anything? We're gonna go next week. We got a show Sunday at 10:30. We'll talk some more week 18. We'll talk some more year in review. We'll just be shooting the proverbial shit. Brian, anything model? We'll do a pod next week. But what do you got for me?
Trying to think of something that sticks out. I mean, Charbonnet with Walker out, I think is a hammer. Like you can hammer him. Definitely a DFS play. I'm for some reason super high on Marvin Mims this week for the Broncos.
He's had a couple big games. He's getting those big plays. The new Jameson Williams.
What a catch that was last week, huh?
Oh my God! Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I have him at wide receiver 14.
Wow.
Okay, model cook.
There's not 2 Mims. It's not one of those again, is it?
It's not.
Okay, good. Okay, Jesus. Okay, Marvin Mims. Okay, that's a nugget for anyone who's sticking around. We got 500 people watching. So, Marvin Mims. Oh my. Okay, I'm gonna bet that. I'm gonna smash that because I've been watching every Denver game, betting Courtland Sutton, and then seeing Nick slinging these 50-yard bombs, hoping it's Sutton, and it's Mims every time, and he's wide open. All right, Jason, what do you got for me?
I have no other thoughts at this point. I'm just keeping this on the rails.
hey, the Niners schedule drop was enough for me. I got to put a note in my phone for next draft. Just
I say, hey, sometimes I come out with some good Brian related analysis here.
Okay, so yeah, but this is a great season. Hopefully, we're gonna keep doing this. I love podding, love talking football, love talking to the viewers. Even though we didn't have many questions today, but we've been building up the base. So we'll be back hopefully next Thursday, maybe Friday now because it looks like it's working better. Does Friday work? Next Friday work for you guys?
Yeah, I'll be around.
All right, we'll be talking playoffs.
I'll be at a Maryland game, unfortunately. I think it's an 8:30 game, but Maryland basketball. Go Terps.
So I was hoping to be at the Cotton Bowl next Friday, but that's not happening now.
Okay. So maybe a new bat time, new bat channel, Friday 5 p.m. But so we're out. Hopefully you guys won some titles. How many titles have anyone win? I got 1. Fantasy type 0.
Goose egg this year.
I'm plussing money, but I have 0 titles.
All right, plus some money. That counts. Okay. Okay. Well, all right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers. Or Sunday, 10:30.